Welcome to the weekend edition of Second City Sports Zoom Style.
Zoom style.
Come on, Lamar, you gotta get into it a little bit.
Zoom. There you go. There you go.
Along with Lakina McGee and good friend Lamont Scott, I am Sydney Brown. You can follow yours truly on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. You can listen to this program on WARR on Anchor, which takes you over to Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. And don't forget to download the iHeartRadio app and type in the search engine box WARR on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. And you can access our lovely programming like this one and all of our other programming from WARR Media.
And you can good. Go ahead, Lamont.
At Lamont Scott, and on Instagram at Lamont Scott 69, and on Twitter at Lamont Scott 16.
All right, you can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter, at Keena_McGee on the Instagram, and you can also watch our show on YouTube. You can see our lovely faces. Where can they find us on YouTube, Sid?
Type in your search engine box on YouTube, WARR Media. That's WARR Media, and you can access all of our other programming, including this one, on YouTube. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And please get the likes up after you finish watching. Please do it. Get them up, get them up, get them up.
Absolutely. And also, hopefully, Jason will join us in a little bit. So, White Sox fans are rejoicing. They clinch a playoff spot for the first time since 2008. You got Sid. Sid got his White Sox gear on, and so does Lamont. So, what are you guys' expectations now that they're in the playoffs officially?
I'll start. You go sit.
Okay, here's the thing for this White Sox team for 2020. Whatever happened this year, it was a bonus because we expected this team to take the next step, but it wasn't necessarily a World Series year. The playoffs were a possibility, but it was a wait and see. Now, since the White Sox are in the playoffs, let's see if they can take the next step. Because in order to become champions, you have to go through the growing pains. Now that they're in the playoffs, we'll see what they're really made of. As of right now, if the playoffs would start today, which the regular season ends next week, they will face the Cleveland Indians. And should they get by them, you'll have to face possibly New York or Oakland in their next round. So, for the White Sox, this is time for taking the next step, growing up some more on the job, on the field. And in order to be playoff tough, you have to go through these experiences. So it's a wait and I'm not saying that this is not a World Series year for the White Sox, but let's just take it one moment at a time, one game at a time, because these guys are going through this experience as a group for the first time together.
And like I was saying, I got to agree with you, Sid. It's a win already, for me, because I didn't expect this much. I expected steps, and we're going to continue to have to take more steps. So I'm actually happy with the situation, and anything else is like icing on the cake from here.
Same thing. I think that, the fact that they made it to, especially with the way they...
Jason Pfeiffer, our fourth member of the crew, has joined us. Jason, what is your thoughts about the White Sox clinching a playoff spot for the first time since 2008?
Well, before we get in, Jason, I'm being a Cubs fan, he going to probably say it was an accident or something, but he might get credit. But at the same time, like you say, it's icing.
Jason, what are your thoughts? Jason? Okay, well, I'll jump in and because like I said before, I mean, it's all icing on the cake now. With the fact that with the expansion of the playoffs, it was going to be, because the chances of the White Sox getting in will get better and better. So, look, I think anything else is just gravy at this point. I mean, it's pretty much wide open now with everything going on and, the shortened season. So, I think in this case, I think the White Sox, they have a chance here. I think everybody that gets in the playoffs will have a chance to win it. That's my take.
I think the question is for the White Sox, who's your starting pitching rotation? Usually you carry three strong starters. Assuming that Dallas Keuchel can come off the injury list soon because their regular season ends next week, he'll be your number one. But if he doesn't, Giolito's your number one. Maybe Dylan Cease is your number 3 starter, your number 2 starter. That's up in the air right now. You know, this all depends on when, if and when Dallas Keuchel comes back. Hopefully, he can come back before the regular season is over. And if he does, your starting rotation will be better. Right now, it's good, but it could be better.
It could definitely be better. I mean, like, so how much would you want to use Dunning in that playoff though?
That's a good question, and that's a name that blanked out of me because the way he's pitching, he could be your number 2 starter if the playoffs started today.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking about at the way he's pitching right now. If it were to start like next week, I would probably run him in at number 2 because him and Keuchel kind of like match each other like back to back. I like them two going back to back.
What are your thoughts, Jason? Jason? See, here's the thing. I think for me with the White Sox rotation, you got Keuchel is set, Giolito is set. Those are your 1, 2, depending on what order do you want to put them in. After that, I think it's gonna be the interesting part about what happens after that. Gonzalez had a nice outing yesterday, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, I think that the pitching is sort of like, do you think they have the pitching sort of challenge can we say Oakland, somebody like that?
Well, not necessarily the pitch. I think you got bats to challenge him, but that's why I think Sid, I mentioned it to Sid a minute ago, I think Dunning is going to play an important role if they use him properly. I think he's being overlooked, and I think he could be the key to some secret success in the playoffs.
Yeah, whoever's that third starter is, whether it's Dunning or maybe Dylan Cease, whoever is that third starter, the other starter will be used out of the bullpen, and we'll see what that challenge brings to that young pitching staff. What I'm concerned about for the White Sox is their offense. Yes, they hit a lot of home runs like the Minnesota Twins. No, don't apologize for it. This how you got here. But in the playoffs, we all know strong pitching and defense knocks out any strong offense. Go ask the Minnesota Twins throughout their history over the last 15, 20 years. For the Sox, my main concern is, can they create runs when you cannot hit home runs? I know they're going to be playing in a bubble in, I believe, Texas, California, and a couple other places as well. But weather won't be a factor because they'll be playing inside. But with that being said, can you create runs when your home run game is not on? Because you're going to face better starting pitching come playoff time, just like everybody else. You're not going to be facing 4th, 5th starters or bullpen session days. You're going to be facing the top 2 starters from other teams. And if you're not hitting home runs, you get easily frustrated. Mentally, it takes you out the game. So I want to see the Sox trying to create runs here because it's all about timely hitting come playoff time. Everything's not going to go your way offensively when it comes to the postseason.
There's 2 names I give you for that, Sid. Nick Magical and Tim Anderson.
Yeah,
I think they have to play a very big role in that whole situation. And you look at Moncada lately, he's coming around again, like he go through these spurts where he's like the man. And I think those 2, with him included, could be that answer to that question you're saying.
Oh, Jason, what are your thoughts about the White Sox?
Well, listen, I thought this was basically a show me series. I don't know what point you guys have touched on already, but I thought that was a pretty good comeback late in the game yesterday. I think the final score was 4-3. I thought Minnesota would win the game late, but obviously they didn't. So it was a great Sox comeback. And again, I know we talked about this on Monday. This was like the litmus test, right? This is like, can the White Sox actually, take 3 out of 4 from a contending team, from a good team, in the Minnesota Twins, and they've done that. They played really well. They, of course, hit the ball hard. I think Abreu was still hitting home runs somewhere. Couldn't seem to get Byron Buxton out so much in this series, but that's okay. Overall, I mean, I would, if I had to put a grade on the series, I'd give it an A+.
It'll be interesting to see what happens especially with the playoffs are set up, like Sid said, it's in Texas. So that's going to be sort of interesting. Like, okay, what's going to happen there. You're not going to have the crowds there. There's not going to be anyone there. Then you're not going to be at home either. So it's going to be interesting to see with all these teams. The Dodgers have already clinched as well. How and will all this sort of set up here?
Yeah, let me pat myself on the back as I put to the challenge of the White Sox in our last podcast earlier this week. I put the pressure on the White Sox to take 3 out of 4 against Minnesota, and they did just that. I agree with you, Jason. I give them an A+ for doing that. And now it's just finishing out the rest of the regular season, which ends next Friday. You have 10 or so games remaining. It's all about getting healthy and getting your starting rotation set for the playoffs, which starts next weekend. So for the White Sox, your goal is to stay healthy, continue to play sharp, and let's see if you can at least win 7 or 8 more games to eke out a 40-win season in a short 60-game season.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Look at it. Talk about your Cubs for a second, Jason. Your Cubs have won 4 in a row. They play Minnesota. I don't think we'll see what the mood Minnesota will be in once everything's set up. Where do you see the Cubs?
Well, certainly playing better over the last week, right, Sid, Lamont, and Lakina? That's for doggone sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that started to happen when with the bats of Javier Baez and Chris Bryant starting to come around a little bit. The pitching has still been solid. I mean, that's been a surprise with me, especially with Chatwood and Quintana continuing to battle injuries. I don't know if they'll even be available for the playoffs at this moment. But Lester's last 2 starts, I know I've been saying this, but his last 2 starts have been pretty good. So I don't know if that is a sign that he can turn things around. I know he's up there in age. So I know people kind of wanted to jump on his back a little bit about sort of the up and down start to this weird season because it is such a weird and unique season. But again, last 2 starts, he's starting to look a little bit more like the John Lester of old. So hopefully he can continue that onward into a playoff. Again, I thought I'd be happy with a split with the Cleveland series, but there were 2 comebacks there, and I couldn't be happier with it. Of course, there was an uninvited drone visitor from the other night. Made things even more weird in this weird and unique. But again, I mean, 4 in a row, like you said, Lakina, and the Cubs have been playing well, so hopefully they can continue it. Again, I think with Javier Baez and Chris Bryant starting to play well, I think you're going to continue to see the team play well as well.
I want to ask you this question, Jason. Who's your top 3 starters if the playoffs would start today for you? I'm assuming Hendricks is up there, and like you said, John Lester is starting to come around, even though he had his struggles throughout the season. Who's your 3rd starter if the playoffs started today?
Yeah, it's such a tough situation, Sid. I think it'd obviously be, some combination of Yu Darvish and Kyle Hendricks right at the top. I would probably give the ball to Darvish in a Game 1 situation based on this season. Anyway, his win probability, I believe, is tops in the entire Major League Baseball when it comes to obviously, chances of the team winning when their team when that pitch starts. So Darvish, Hendricks 1, 2. As far as right now, I would have to put Lester in at 3. But Alec Mills has been pitching well. I know he definitely deserves some consideration there. But with the pedigree that John Lester has, I would have to probably put him in the 3 spot as of right now. Where do you have it? Where do you have that 3rd starter at, Sid?
I forgot about Yu Darvish. That's why I asked because Kyle Hendricks, he's been there before. So has Lester, but like I said, Lester has getting up there in age. He's had his struggles post All-Star break the last couple years. You give props to Yu Darvish. I'm sure he is going to be the number 1 candidate for the National League Cy Young Award. So I will give him the ball for Game 1. I know Lester, with his veteran experience, a couple championship rings, he'll probably get the number 2 spot. Me personally, it would be Kyle Hendricks, but if you flipped it around, you shouldn't be too upset if you're a Cubs fan.
Yeah. Again, it's all about who do you want to compete, right? And again, I think Alex Mills is starting to show that he's got good stuff, but he's been a bit inconsistent, right? I mean, obviously he's coming off a no-hitter, but an up and down season so far. I think his ERA is right around 4.5. I think a 4.5. And look, John Lester's is the same. Okay, I'm not trying to not here or anything. But again, I think when we're talking about pedigree, championship medal, as they call it, I'd have to give Lester the ball in a Game 3 situation.
Yeah, I see them giving the ball to Lester, and if it come down to it, him performing a Kurt Schilling type performance, if need be. Even if he's hurt, I can see him doing a Kurt Schilling with no problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to get geared up for the playoffs. I mean, like you said, Jason, this is not going to be his first time doing this. This guy's a veteran. I think he'll get it together. And look, I think Rossi was there for both times that they won championships together. So I'm not worried about Lester at this point.
Me neither.
Yeah, me either. Well, you know, the thing about it was, I talked about this a few weeks, maybe even a month ago back. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but it was the dip in velocity for me was a really concerning problem. You know, he was barely touching 89, 90 on the gun on his fastball. And it's not like John Lester is a fireball thrower anyway, but you're used to seeing that velocity maybe, you know, 1 or 2 ticks, maybe even 3 ticks higher, 92, 93, to go along with his ability to spot and locate. You know, that's what you look for from a John Lester. And he just wasn't doing that, you know, up until these past 2 starts. So, again, along with that dip in velocity. But I noticed, especially in his last start, I saw 91, I saw 92 a few times. So I'm thinking maybe it was more of an arm string game shape situation. And again, I hate to sound like the broken record, but this is such a unique season, guys. We're going to see a lot of things that we're really not used to seeing.
Yeah, like the World Series.
Well, especially with the setup of the playoffs too. Oh, very funny, Lamont. Especially with the playoff setup too. I mean, you know, you're going to be in Dallas and Houston, so you're going to be in a bubble basically. So you're not going to have a lot of. You're not going, like I said, you're not going to have crowds. You're not going to be in your home ballpark. So that's going to be another thing too. Same thing with we talked about with the White Sox a couple of minutes ago. Cubs. I mean, the White Sox too. The Cubs, same thing. I mean, all these teams. So it'll be interesting. This playoffs. Once we get to the playoffs and start previewing it, it's going to be very interesting.
I wanted to flip the question back to Sydney and you guys. Now, what do you think your playoff rotation is set up like? Obviously, it'll be Giolito, I'm thinking, in the game 1. I think that's a given at this point. But how do you think the rotation shapes up in a game 2 or 3 situation, Sid?
Yeah, we talked about this a couple minutes ago before you joined us. Dallas Keuchel, assuming that he comes off the injury list before the regular season ends next Friday. If that's the case, he'll be my number 2 starter. That third spot is wide open. Is it Dylan Cease? Is it Dane Dunning? Whoever gets that spot, the other one had to go to the bullpen for Miller relieving, and that should boost up your bullpen right there. The bullpen actually hasn't been too bad this year. Yes, they had its struggles the last couple of weeks, but it's starting to turn around a little bit. I know you warned me about Steve Cishek. I do not want to see him on the mound again this year, but I think it's up to Rick Renteria. We'll probably see him somewhere. But outside of that, you should be pretty confident, at least with your starting rotation. Now, the closer, Alex Colomé, he's very good, so I'm not worried about him at all. It's just about your setup guys in the 7th and 8th innings that can they rise up now you're in the postseason.
I think that's why whoever goes to that bullpen, be it Dunning or Cease, will replace Steve Cishek and push him back a little more. We should have left him over on the north side, to be honest with you.
No, you shouldn't have. No, you shouldn't have.
We should have left him over
there. Not a chance. Like I said, it's going to be very interesting. We'll see how Rick Renteria sort of sets all this up. It'll be interesting. So let's talk about the MLB as a whole real quick before we go to the NBA playoffs. It looks like we're probably going to end up getting 3 teams in the AL East. I mean, the Yankees have won 8 in a row. Judge and Stanton are finally healthy again. Thank goodness.
Did you see that game last night?
Yes, right? I mean, oh my gosh.
God.
Well, 5 home runs in the first, right, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Like 5 homers, I think. Yep.
Yes, that was ugly.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, so I think, look, the Yankees and Rays don't face each other anymore, but the Jays and the Yankees, they do. So it'll be interesting to see how all this sets up. I mean, looking at the Rays' last 10 games, 9 games actually, because they've played 51 already. So that's going to be interesting to see who ends up getting that top spot in the East. They get the Orioles, the Mets, and the Phillies. The Phillies are going to be battling for those playoff spots, and we'll talk about the Mets in a little bit. But yeah,
before we jump all the way off of that, Do you think Renterina job is a little more secure since they won and clinched the playoffs? You think they're more comfortable with him? They say the players love him. How do you think he got a solid shot at getting a solid chance?
I think his job is safe for now, but we'll see what he does during this playoff series. But really, the true question is, what does he do come next year, despite what happens this year in the playoffs? Because expectations are going to be higher, and at times he's done questionable moves. What manager doesn't have questionable moves and tinkering with the lineups here and there? The question is, can he sustain this next year when the expectations are going to be higher? And if you can't do that, or somehow they miss the playoffs, that seat is going to be hot. And like we always say, Lamont, here's your pink slip in the link card.
Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. All right. So, what do you guys think about the AL East? I mentioned, they're probably going to end up being 3 teams. How do you think that's gonna play out?
Yeah, listen, I love the Blue Jays. They're scrappy. I thought they were probably a year away as well, but again, this is such a unique season. I'm not surprised that they're playing well. They've been up and down this season, but again, young team, so we'll see what kind of impact they can make in the playoffs. But they're certainly fun to watch. I've told you guys a couple of times about this already. I've got a chance to see a couple of those boys on that Toronto Blue Jays team when I was doing my internship with the South Bend Cubs in single A ball. So, Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's a kid that I watched a few times during that internship, and just love watching them play. And of course, you've got Craig Biggio's son there, and they're playing well, and they're young and exciting. So I'm excited for this final week to see what they can do. But yeah, it looks like 3 teams in the AL East, and not only can they have the Yankees gotten their health back, but can they figure out also Garrett Cole's problems? I know he's been pitching well lately, so I think he's turned the corner. But I think those are 2 questions that the Yankees fans have had, and they seem to be answered. So I'm ready to get this thing started as far as playoffs go.
Yeah, me too. And a lot of them teams in the East going to cancel each other out going towards the end of this. So it's going to make it a lot easier going into the playoffs. So I think once we get to the playoffs, all of that have been canceled itself out much, and we'll be okay going forward to see which direction we're going in.
I'm with you, Jason. I think Toronto's a year away from really taking that next step and becoming contenders for the playoffs. If they happen to sneak in this year, so be it. I watched that whole series against the Yankees this week, which they got swept and gave up 19 home runs as a pitching staff. That shows you what a young team that they are. They have talent, but they just need more time and more experience. The Yankees, I know they got Aaron Judge back and Giancarlo Stanton. The key is if both of those guys stay healthy, which they have come back now, if they can stay healthy through the playoffs, they can be a dangerous team. I'm with you, Jason. Outside of Garrett Cole, what can the Yankees give you as far as their starting rotation? Their bullpen's been kind of shaky, and I know it hasn't been these stories since the Yankees been scoring all these runs during this latest winning streak. But if they can shore up their starting rotation outside of Cole and they can get their bullpen together, they will be tough to beat.
What about the Central? Looks like the White Sox are going to be the only ones. I know the Twins and the Indians both have a very, very high probability of getting in the playoffs.
I think Cleveland could be a little bit more dangerous. I know they went through a tough stretch here recently. I know they played the Cubs this weekend, but if they can somehow get in, even though they traded Mike Clevenger at the trade deadline, they still, I believe, have enough pitching to get by. They still have 5 tool players up and down their roster. I like them personally better than Minnesota. Minnesota is a team that hit home runs, and once they get into the playoffs, they crap the bed. If I had to choose between which team outside of the White Sox in the Central, which chances I like better in the playoffs, Minnesota or Cleveland, I'm going with Cleveland.
I gotta agree with you, Sid. I can't roll with Minnesota. Minnesota done let me down too many times.
And their pitching starting rotation stinks. And the White Sox exposed.
Yeah, they're bad. Yeah, that pitching is terrible.
That's the key for me. I think that's what probably gives Cleveland the edge for all of us. Is their starting pitching. Even though they traded Mike Clevenger, I would like to talk to their general management just to see where their head is at. I mean, are they in the business of waving a white flag or not? I mean, if I'm like Francisco Lindor, I'm looking at management and kind of wondering what the hell's going on there, because You traded away like literally our whole starting rotation in 2 days, or in 2 years, I should say. Another one gone. So it's really, again, I mean, I don't know exactly how to feel about that if I'm a Cleveland fan, but they're still right there. They're still in contention.
All right, let's go west. You got the A's and the Astros. So it's going to be between the two of them. Both kind of had their struggles lately. Where do you guys see the AL West?
I'll start. I'm rooting for the A's. It's just something about them. I mean, I like them. They scrappy, they play, and they always seem to catch a bad break around this time of the year. And I'm praying that don't happen this year. So I'm really pushing for the A's. I really want the A's to go like really bad.
Well, I know I'm not too sure how severe that Matt Chapman injury is. I mean, you're talking about bad breaks and bad luck, Lamont. It's really unfortunate Chapman got injured. But I love the A's. I love them as a team as well. They always that was a good point. Something always seems to happen to them late in the season.
Yeah, something always seems to happen, man. So
yeah. But I love the A's, and I don't know if the Astros will have enough to get over their hump.
Yeah, as I said on this podcast a couple weeks ago, before the Matt Chapman injury, I thought the A's were the best team in the AL outside of the White Sox. If I was a White Sox fan, the playoffs would have started. I wouldn't have wanted to see Oakland. Of course, now the Yankees are getting healthy. They caught fire. Maybe Oakland still has something left in the tank. I think they'll hang on to win that AL West. But as far as the playoffs are concerned, like you mentioned, Jason, that Matt Chapman injury, assuming that he's out for the year, it doesn't look good for Oakland. Houston, as I said before, they cannot win on the road. And if they get in, I still don't like their chances. I really don't. They're just being too inconsistent for me.
Same thing. I think that Chapman injury for the A's is it's just a tough break, and I'm hoping that it's not a big injury, but they're kind of keeping it sort of hush hush how serious it is. So we'll see what happens in Houston. Look, I mean, until somebody beats Houston, I don't know what else to I don't know what else to say there. All right, another pretty competitive division, the NL East. Braves, Marlins, you got to give them props for hanging in there. They lost last night, but the Phillies, but some people are even saying that maybe the Mets might try to sneak up in there, which I think that's a little bit out there at this point. So where do you guys see the NL East?
I don't think the Mets. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think the Mets gonna sneak. I mean, I'm an Atlanta guy all the way. Like I'm going with Atlanta. I mean, Philadelphia. If Philadelphia was gonna win it, I feel like they should have been winning if they was gonna win it. Like Philadelphia they let me down last year, so I kind of didn't ride with them at all this year. So I'm rolling with Atlanta, man. I'm gonna stick with Atlanta.
Yeah, Philly had been playing well, but I think it's a little bit too late for them at this point. Another injury for Jake the Snake Arrieta over there in Philly. I mean, I can't. You know how I feel about him, Lakina. I mean, he should have a statue here in near Wrigley Field for the years he gave the Cubs. But I mean, it just hasn't worked out in Philadelphia. I mean, it just has not done. He's been injured. He's been in and out of the rotation pretty much since he's gotten there. And I know I believe he left his last start early, even though he had went like 5 1/3. But I think he left that game early with the hamstring tightness. So he'll probably be done for the year, and it's just unfortunate, for Philly fans and for him, because he was a guy that, that prided himself on staying healthy, and he had done that, especially in his time here in Chicago. But, something in the air in Philadelphia, I don't know, but maybe too many cheesesteaks. I'm not sure. Maybe too much Geno's or Pat's. I don't know, but hasn't worked out so far in that Philly red. I think they'll be better next year. But the Braves are kind of in a point where they have to show me as well, even though they haven't been as good as long as a team like, say, the Dodgers. But it's been a couple of seasons now that they've kind of dominated that NL East. So they need to try to figure some things out to not get swept in the divisional round again. So, but as far as the Marlins go, I mean, if the season today, they're in. I mean, and you got to give them a ton of credit for that. So I don't know what kind of damage they'll do. I think they'll get I think it's the 4 and 5 matchup. If it started today, the Marlins would. I'm not sure who that 4th seed is, though. I have to look at the standings again. I can't remember.
The Padres, I think, if I'm not
Padres?
mistaken.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So, again, I mean, we're talking about surprise teams, right? We knew some things like this would happen in these weird seasons, and the Marlins are still right there.
As far as the NL East is concerned, as I said all season long, it's the Braves division to lose hands down. Philadelphia, I'm with you, Jason. Even they sneak in, I think next year they will be better. You get a full 162 game season under a manager Joe Girardi. For the Miami Marlins, you catch COVID. Hopefully, you learn your lesson. Now you clinch a playoff spot. I guess it's the story of the season right there. So the Marlins have been scrappy, and props out to them. And the Mets, don't make me waste my time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even a fan of that team.
All right, real quick, because I want to get into the NBA playoffs right before we take our break. Anybody else besides the Cubs get in?
I don't think so.
I say no.
Nope.
All right. Yeah, because the Cardinals got too many games left over, and I think that's what's gonna catch them in the end. All right, in the West, the Dodgers have already made it, and the Padres, can either one of them do damage in the playoffs?
The Dodgers got to show me, even though they got everything and they kick a lot, they beat a lot of people. The Dodgers.
Oh, we lost. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, so I'm with you. I think the Dodgers, let's get in the playoffs. Jason?
Yeah. Listen, I honestly don't even want to talk about the Dodgers. I just don't. To me, this is about the San Diego.
You worse than me, Jason.
Well, I mean, you've known me long enough now, Lamont, and especially Sydney and Lakina. You know how long we've been doing this show. I don't want to talk about the Dodgers anymore. To me, this is about the San Diego Padres. They're probably the most exciting team in baseball. I hope goodness that they don't end up dropping to the 7th seed, because the Cubs are in the 2 seed right now.
Oh God.
Well, I mean, I don't want to see them in the first round in a 3-game series. Absolutely not. I mean, I just don't. So they're probably going to take a top team out, and I just hope it's not the Cubs.
And regardless, I'm going to still rock my Padres. I got an 84 Padres jersey that I love, so I'm going to still rock my Padres jersey.
Sid?
The Dodgers, they have that division locked up. The Padres, they can still do damage come playoff time. It depends on who they play. But I'm with you guys on the rest of the panel. We said this all year long. If you're the Dodgers, show me what you can do in the playoffs. Regular season is nice, but can you bring home that trophy for the first time since 1988? We shall see.
All right, off to the hardwood we go for the NBA playoffs. Are the conference finals?
Yes. Let's do this.
Yeah, I'm about to say, the conference finals are finally set.
Can I start?
Yeah, I mean, okay, Lakers and Nuggets. I mean, can we talk about the Clippers for a second? I mean, what the hell happened? What the hell happened?
I told you Paul George was going to do that.
I will start.
Okay, go ahead, Jason.
No, I'm doing a patting on the back right now, Lamont and Sid. I'm doing a patting on the back right now because I told you.
Oh my gosh.
Playoff P was in rare form. Playoff P. Now listen. Now this is a guy that has self-addressed himself as this moniker, right? And I was looking at a stat the other day. This will probably blow your guys' mind. I don't know if you saw this or heard this, but in that Game 7, that was the 9th playoff game of George's career that he has shot under 25%. That is the 9th game of his career that he has shot under 25% in the playoffs. I don't think if you tried, you could come up with a stat like that. A microcosm of the season, and I know you guys saw this. I'm pretty sure you guys saw this. When they desperately need a bucket, when Denver is starting to pull away in the fourth quarter, Paul George is wide open in the corner for a 3. And what does this man do? Hit the side of the backboard. Boing. Like that was what we used to say on the playground when there was just a complete brick shot. Like we would just give it a sound effect,
oh my gosh.
Like clank or something like that. Like I want everybody who has ever watched basketball or will continue to watch basketball in the future to stop saying Paul George is a star player. I want everybody to kill that noise right now. I don't. He is not elite. He is not a star player. He is not even. He is barely an all-star level player, and he has robbed the team $75 million worth of money. Like, he robbed whatever team signed. I think that ended up being the Thunder. He robbed him of that money. He's not worth it. He is a complete choker and choke job. Stop saying this dude is a great player. That's number one issue. Number two, Sydney, I'm going to use the term that you like to use, right? Like giving out pink slips and whatnot.
Link
Man,
In link cards.
Doc Rivers might need a pink slip, guys. I know you guys have seen this stat as well, but this is the third time that he has blown a 3-1 lead as a coach.
Yep, that's true.
No other coach in NBA history has ever done it more than once. Like, there was, and we sort of talked about this before the shutdown, didn't we, guys? Like, we sort of said that something doesn't quite look right with the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like they were turning on and off a light switch. And we had said this at the time. I remember specifically saying this, that it could come back to bite them in the playoffs. They sleptwalked through the first round. They ran up into a team like the Denver Nuggets, who are a team and who have, in my opinion, by far the best big, no disrespect to Anthony Davis, but Nikola Jokic is the best big man in the NBA right now. He probably has been for the past 2 or 3 seasons. And they got exactly what they deserve.
You know what the Clippers need, and he may need the lead, but the Clippers need a leader. They need a leader. Like, they need a point guard. They need Chris Paul. That's what they need. They need a Chris Paul. They need a leader. And I think Kawhi is cool with that as far as, but he's not that. They need a Chris Paul. Really, they need Chris. Maybe they could trade Paul George for Chris Paul and, work that out or something. But
Oklahoma City ain't going to want him back. Oklahoma City don't want him back.
Look. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, here's the thing. I remember you said it, Jason, right before we were still in the studio before everything shut down. Look, I warned people about this Clippers team. The way they were, like you said, Jason. Remember when they were sleepwalking through the regular season. You're like, okay, they need to kind of, wake up. And I'm not surprised, but I think Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic is showing you that, that's a pretty good Nuggets team. And if you're a fan of the Bulls, look, AK helped build this team. You gotta be feeling pretty good if you're a Bulls fan right now. So, do I think they can pull off the upset against the Lakers? I don't think so, but I think they can push into 6 games, because I think LeBron's looking at this and then we're looking at this and say, okay, you know what, we wanted Kawhi, and then, but look, we have to play some Nuggets. We're not going to look back. We're not going to sleepwalk. And LeBron wants to win this title again. He might run off into the sunset. So let's do it. Let's go for it.
Yeah, quickly, Lou Williams of the Clippers said it the best, even though he had his own issues traveling to the bubble. But he said that they didn't have the chemistry wasn't there. If you watched the last 3 games of their series against Denver, it showed right on the court. As I said on our last podcast the other day, they were worried too much about the Lakers. They took the regular season off like it was cavalier. They didn't take it seriously. Yeah, they had enough wins.
Yeah. I think Sydney echoes the sentiment for pretty much everybody. I think the Clippers are just will Doc get fired? I doubt it, but I think there's definitely gonna be some changes made. But I don't know how they're gonna do it, because they don't have any first round draft picks. They traded most of them for the last 3 years to get PG, so it'll be interesting. No doubt about it. Okay, as we get Sid.
I just laugh. because I mean, and you know what the thing about it is? Like, Paul did you guys see his after the game interviews? Paul George is like, we're talking about no emotional leadership. I mean, and you get that from Kawhi Leonard. He was kind of never that personality. But Paul George just doesn't seem to care. He just doesn't seem to care. Have you guys noticed that at all?
maybe he accept what you say. Maybe he accept that he ain't great, and he know he ain't great, and he know he can hit people for 175 million, and he cool with it.
Ouch! Damn. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Ooh, coming with the heat, Lamont. Coming up with the heat.
He might be okay with it. I mean, long as he ain't the free agent we pick up, I'll be okay.
What do you guys see about the Nuggets Lakers series?
I mean, it's gonna be good. I mean, I think the Lakers gonna overlook them a little bit. And if Michael Porter Jr. learn how to play defense, he could match up with Anthony Davis a little bit. I mean, he got the size, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Well,
you know,
what's interesting about this series is that obviously I wouldn't have given Denver much of a chance before obviously the Clippers series. But I think the way they're playing, I have to think this series could go at least six, if not seven. I just think Jokic and Murray are just playing that good. Now, the big key for me in this matchup will be that second unit, because there's not much depth on that Denver Nuggets second unit, and Rajon Rondo for the Lakers running that second unit over there is been nothing but a boost for them. So I think they can match up starting wise, the Lakers and the Nuggets. I think Jokic could, if they can slow down the Lakers somehow, make it a half court game, which is what the Nuggets have been doing throughout these playoffs. I think they'll have a shot, but they have to slow down AD, because Jokic is not going to be able to keep up with him if the Lakers are able to get out and get on the run. So I think that's a big key. Again, I think they could kind of cancel each other out. I think LeBron, could probably, he's going to do his thing regardless, but I think the big key for me also outside of the second unit for Denver is Jamal Murray. If he can, in my opinion, he's got to score at least 30 points every game in this series for them to have a shot. If he has one off game, it's going to hurt him, and it's going to hurt him big time because of the lack of depth on Denver's side. So I think it's a long series, but it remains to be seen. We'll see. I think Denver's definitely got to win game one. I think they've definitely got to win game one to have a better shot.
Definitely.
Yeah, quickly before we take this quick timeout, I'll give my prediction. I have the Lakers in 6, but pay attention to these two factors coming to this series. I think Lamont mentioned it before, I believe. But Nikola Jokic versus Anthony Davis, I want to see that matchup right there. It's going to come down to rebounding. In the second unit, Jason, as you mentioned, for Denver, for the Lakers, outside of Rondo, who's going to be their second scorer? Will it be Kyle Kuzma and J.R. Smith and I forget the other guy's name.
CP.
Deion Waiters, if he plays at all, who's going to give additional scoring? And also Alex Caruso, he's also a backup guard. So will he provide the energy coming off the bench for the Lakers? That's the two factors I'm looking for in this series.
I said Gary Harris could show up. If he decides he could show up on the second unit. He could show up if he decides to show up. I haven't seen much of him. I mean, I think it's going to.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to know. I think this will be a very entertaining series. I think, like you said, Jason, if fatigue, I think fatigue also might be a factor too. The fact that the Nuggets had to come back from 3-1 twice. That's gonna be the thing here.
Great coach, he might do that.
All right, so let's take this really quick break. And look, we still got a lot to talk about. We got the NFL. We're gonna preview Bears and Giants. Who are we gonna have coming up, Sid?
Jake Brown from the New York Post, and we'll get into a little bit of New York sports as well.
All right, we're also going to talk about the Eastern Conference Finals, folks. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten that. And also, we're going to talk about college football too. And I know Jason will have his thoughts. I will too, about the Big Ten and all the other conferences wanting to come back.
And give out our picks.
Oh yeah, of course. So got a lot to do in the second hour. So for everybody, I'm Lakina, the Second City Sports Zoom style, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to our second segment of the weekend edition of Second City Sports Zoom Style.
Zoom Style? Oh, God, really?
Along with Lakina McGee, Jason Pfeiffer, and Lamont Scott, I am Sydney Brown. You can follow yours truly on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. You can catch Second City Sports along with our other programming from We Are Rico Radio by searching for WARR on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes. We're everywhere. So wherever you download your podcast, make sure you type in WARR on Anchor. Also, we're on iHeartRadio. Please, please, please download the iHeartRadio app. Just search for WARR on Anchor. You can access this program along with others from WARR Media.
You can find me at Lamont Scott on Facebook and Lamont on Instagram and Twitter.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on Twitter and Keenan_McGee on the Instagram.
And you can follow me at Truth and Reason _ on the Twitter. And you can also follow the show's Twitter handle at 2NDCSCHI. Follow us, we follow that.
Kicking off this next segment, we will preview the New York Giants versus the Chicago Bears in Week 2 NFL action. And to help us do that is our special guest. He's been on the Dean Davis Show before. He's also been on ESPN, CNN, WFAN, and he also did a radio show with a friend of the show, Mr. Brandon Scoopy Robinson. I'm talking about Jake Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at Jake Brown Radio. That's at Jake Brown Radio on Twitter. He's the executive producer for the sports podcast for the New York Post. Jake, thank you for joining us on your busy schedule. How are you today?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Let's get it started. Before we break down Bears and Giants, the New York Giants were seen on the national stage as part of Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost in a kind of a close one, but your quarterback, Daniel Jones, he looked good in spots, but he really showed his inexperience of throwing 2 turnovers, especially toward the end of the game. Before we break that performance out, just give us your initial thoughts about the Giants' opening loss on Monday.
Yeah, well, when you go up against the Steelers, they didn't really have much of a shot. The Steelers are one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense in the league. So, the Giants' offensive line stinks. That's their biggest problem. They can't run the ball. Daniel Jones has to run a lot. Luckily, he's more mobile than Eli Manning, and he can do it. But that's going to be the big problem for the Giants is just pass protection. They were in the news this week with Tiki Barber making comments about Saquon's pass protection and the offensive line with they already lost. They had Nate Solder opt out before the season, which, at first you think, oh, it's not a big deal, but now you look at their depth and it is brutal. So Daniel Jones will struggle because of that. But otherwise, I think fans here are very confident that they have their franchise quarterback, and if he could cut down the turnovers, that long drive he had was killed by a bad pass he should have never made. So if he could cut down mistakes like that, they were in the game against a top defense. So I think this game Sunday, they're going to be in it all the way against the Bears.
Guys?
Lamont?
Oh, yes. No, I mean, as far as that goes, let me ask you a quick question. But you said you think he's going to be in it. Do you think they need to try to maybe use Saquon even more? Or I know the pass protection is, like you say, not as deep as you would like it to be. But do you think that they can maybe work out different schemes of blocking to try to use Saquon more to take some of that pressure off of Jones?
Yeah, they have to. And I think, the Bears defense is good, but it's not the Steelers. So he's going to have more success. Listen, if you have 15 carries for 6 yards, if you don't have more success, then you're in trouble because it's hard to be that bad. I mean, it was a career bad day for Saquon. So I think we're going to see more screen passes. And Saquon's a great receiver out of the backfield. So he had 60 yards as a receiver. So I think the Giants are going to try to figure out more packages to get him involved as a receiver. Maybe get Deion Lewis in the mix and Wayne Gallman. So, they got to find a way to get the run game going because you can't have Daniel Jones throw 30, 40 times. They're not going to win that way. So I think we'll have him see more success. And honestly, I think, we're going to have Tiki Barber actually on our show, Blue Rush, on Sunday. So, we'll get the immediate reaction from Tiki. If Saquon has a big game, we could smack talk with Tiki a little bit and be like, pipe it down, Tiki, look what happens. So I'm hoping that happens. I love Tiki personally, but it would be nice to, have that immediate reaction and him say sorry.
Jake, how about the defense? I mean, you got Dexter Lawrence, you got Leonard Williams, you got Jabril Peppers. The talent is there, but they're still kind of like sort of meandering like in mediocrity. So what do you think having a new coaching staff will help improve that defense?
Yeah, I think it will, but the problem is there's just not, like you said, there's not a ton of talent. Yeah, there's a couple guys here and there, but the cornerbacks aren't great. I know they picked up Logan Ryan, but he's kind of been their third guy. You lose a guy in the offseason, and obviously everything that happened with him at cornerback. There's nothing you could do to avoid that. But the safety position is still a struggle. You talk about Jabril Peppers. Julian Love is not a starting safety, really a backup. So he stepped in and been a starting safety. The Giants have to get that pass rush going. They got a couple stacks, but Leonard Williams has been mostly a bust since coming to the Giants. He had a nice game, but they got to put some pressure on Mitchell Trubisky if they want to win this game. That's been a big problem for them. Blake Martinez was the anchor to the defense in week 1. He was awesome, and he's a guy that they paid money to be awesome in the offseason. So they need to kind of, go out some all-out blitzes, make Trubisky make a mistake. You guys know well he's made many mistakes over his career. He had a great fourth quarter, but he's prone to mistakes. So if the Giants could feed off of that and put pressure on him, I think they can win this game.
Okay, Jake. So let's get back to that offense and the quarterback, Daniel Jones. Obviously, it's been a little over a year now. So I guess this is a two-part question. What's the fan sort of outlook on him, I guess, reaction to Daniel Jones so far, and how is your reaction been to the new quarterback of the New York Giants? How's he been in your opinion so far?
I think he's been okay. I think it's fun to watch a quarterback be able to run. Listen, I love Eli Manning, but my God, he could not run at all. So to see Daniel Jones actually be able to move and show some mobility has been cool because he's going to need to with the offensive line. He's got to find ways. When they're bringing out all-out blitzes, there's going to be some room to run, and he's been able to find some crevices. I'd like to see him get more than 6-7 yard runs. I'd like to see him break out for a 20 or 30-yarder. But like I said before, him cutting down on the turnovers. Last year was all about the fumbles. This guy was just holding the ball open loosely, and he's got to bring it in. I mean, Tiki Barber knows something about I'm ripping on Tiki too much here. That's my guy. But he knows something about holding the ball loosely and fumbling. So Daniel Jones has to avoid the fumble. Last week it was the interception bug. Last season it was the turnover bug, the fumble bug. So I think Giants fans like him, but it's going to take time. You go from a future Hall of Famer to another guy. It's just by the matter of fact of replacing Eli, that's going to take time. So overall, I think they like him, but we still need to see more, and we need to see the team kind of progress from last season, which I do think they will.
Jake Brown of the New York Post is joining us here on Second City Sports Zoom cell as we preview the Week 2 NFL action between the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants. Jake, let's stay with quarterback Daniel Jones. He has a new offensive coordinator named Jason Garrett, of course, former quarterback in his heyday and former Dallas Cowboys head coach. What do you think that he'll bring to this Giants organization this year? How do you think he'll help out Daniel Jones, the second-year phenom?
Well, hopefully we'll see less clapping on the sideline, which I like. Mr. Clappy himself. I mean, hopefully they don't. That was the thing last year. Him as the head coach, they're always putting the camera on the head coach. They're not going to put the camera, let's hope, as much on the offensive coordinator. So I think having him here and his ability to do what he does best, and that's play calling. I think having him in a less pressure role here in New York, kind of a head coach 1A to Joe Judge. I think fans love Joe Judge so far. The take-a-lap approach, guys doing laps, his hard-nosed style, learning under Saban and Belichick. And I think he can help Joe Judge in being a head coach. And I think Joe Judge can help him with kind of a sense of tenacity and aggression that, Garrett, like I joke about, has always been Mr. Clappy. I don't think he's held players accountable like we're already seeing from Joe Judge. And you're already seeing the players echo his style from what they're saying in the media, just how they're acting, how they're playing, what we're seeing in practice and the laps and everything surrounding Joe Judge. I think that helps Garrett. So I like Garrett as offensive coordinator. It's so early to tell, and going up against the Steelers, you can't truly judge because that's an all-world defense. I'm interested to see these next few weeks how this offense does because, listen, if they don't turn that ball over, they maybe score 20, 23, 24 points in week 1, and your thoughts about the Giants offense is a lot different. So I'd like to see a couple of weeks sample size to fully judge Garrett here.
Lamont?
And as far as you mentioned in Garrett, like with him calling the play, do you think that he will do more for Daniel Jones instead of Saquon Barkley, with him being a former quarterback and with him coming from Dallas? Do you think he's more geared toward making New York a more passing situation, or do you think they should pound Barkley?
I think it will be more of a passing situation, and honestly, a big reason for that is Darius Slayton. The fifth-round pick is quickly becoming a guy that looks like a number one receiver. He's a touchdown machine. He's a red zone machine. He's speedy, and he went from number 3 to number 1. It makes you kind of forget about Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, any Giants fan who's still clamoring for OBJ to me is lost. I think they've moved on from him, and I think having Golden Tate out in week 1 hurt them. So to get Tate back with Slayton, Evan Ingram is the key to this offense. A young quarterback loves a good tight end and a check down option. Dak had that in Hall of Famer Jason Witten with Jason Garrett. So Evan Ingram has just been a huge disappointment, and a guy that the Giants, if he doesn't do anything, they got to consider trading him before the trade deadline, because you don't really have a backup. You have Caden Smith, but in the offseason, you're going to have to think about bringing a tight end in here. So I do think it's going to be kind of a more passing attack. And like I said before, Saquon's better out of the passing game anyway. People look at him and his run game. He's always been known to have one explosive run and then a lot of short runs after that. I think he's a big playmaker. He has trouble carving out, kind of like a Frank Gore, who's good at carving out those 3- and 4-yard runs. That's not Saquon. Saquon's a guy who is known for his explosive, 60-yard run here, 40-yard run there. But a lot of his other runs have been short or loss of yardage. So I do think Garrett makes this kind of more of a passing attack once he has full confidence in Daniel Jones not to make those mistakes like he did against the Steelers.
Jake, what are the actual expectations that fans have for this Giants team this year?
Well, their schedule's so tough. I don't think fans have huge expectations. I know on the podcast I said 7-9. Lawrence Tynes said 7-9. And I think Paul Schwartz said 7-9. I think we were 7-9 across the board, and I think that would be progression from last year. I think next year you're kind of looking at the year for this team to compete. But guess what? I mean, who knows this year with no fans? It's such a weird year, and the NFC East is kind of down. I know everyone thinks the Cowboys are going to win the division. The Eagles were disappointing in week 1. I don't think the Washington football team will make it that interesting, but they do have a good pass rush, so we'll see. I think 7 wins is the expectation for Giants fans. 8 or more, I think that is a huge year for Joe Judge, honestly. Just with this schedule, I think if they win 8 games, if they make the playoffs, I mean, it would be – the Giants have to be throwing a parade just for that. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll take 7. I'll take 7 wins. 8 wins, and I'll really be happy.
Jason?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Jake Brown from the New York Post is joining us right here on Second City Sports as we preview Bears and Giants for week 2. Jason, staying with the Giants for a couple more minutes before we move on. GM Wayne Gettleman, this is his second year, I believe, at the helm for the New York Giants. How long is the leash before fans starting to get on him if the New York Giants don't turn it around here quickly?
Yeah, Gettleman's interesting because he is a quote machine. Whenever he speaks, I think it's the thick Boston accent. I mean, when that guy says, when he says punks and when he drops the hog mollies on us, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, content. So I wish he spoke to the media more, but he's already said he's not a big fan of the New York media. He doesn't like talking that much. And as a fan and as producer and host, I love the sound bites, but. Yeah, I think his leash is getting shorter. I think there was a chance he was going to go before this season. I think a lot of people were surprised. He struggled a bit in the draft. Their first-round picks have kind of been bust outside Saquon and Jones. They've had some busts. So I do think, I think this could be it. If they don't progress this year, I think Gettleman could be gone, maybe one more season. But this is kind of the year for him that they need to progress. You need to see Saquon become a better pass protector. You need to see Daniel Jones turn the ball over less. You need to see some signs from guys like James Bradbury, who they spent a lot of money on. Gettleman spent a ton of money on to try and fix the cornerback position and the depleted defense. You got to see it because of the draft. There's been nothing to write home about outside of Slayton and Saquon and Jones. Yeah, but Yeah, I think this could be the final year, maybe one more, but for sure, I don't think Giants fans are going to be too patient here with Dave Gettleman.
Before we move on here, what's your prediction for Sunday's game? What's your final score?
Yeah, I think I said on the show 27-24. I think the Giants are going to win, guys. I'm sorry to say, I do think they're going to win. I think the Bears were terrible outside of one quarter last week against the Detroit Lions, while the Giants competed against a top-tier defense. So I don't know. There's something if there were fans, I would have picked the Bears. Without any fans, I think the Giants even go in there and play better and win by a field goal. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think Graham Gano, Giants have a solid kicker in him, and our Giants host is Lawrence Tynes, who's a Scottish kicker. We got a fellow Scottish kicker. You don't get many of them in the NFL. So I think the Scottish kicker leads the Giants to a win in the final minute. I think Daniel Jones leads them down the field, and they win by a field goal.
All right. Go ahead, Lakina.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's go to baseball for a second. You got the Yankees finally starting to, now that everyone's healthy, it looks like it's starting to kind of, churn along here. Where do you expect the Yankees? I'm sure they're going to make the playoffs spot. So what are your expectations for them in the playoffs?
It's so tough to say because in the neutral site, and the thing that hurts the Yankees is that during these series, there's no days off. They're just playing straight through at these neutral sites, which hurts because they can't, in a 7-game series, they probably can't do Garrett Cole game 147 unless they're putting him on a shorter pitch count, and unless they're pitching him on 3 days rest, which they might, because they might be that desperate with their starting rotation come playoff time. Not great, but listen, before the season, I said the Yankees should make the World Series. I just think there's too much talent on paper. Our Yankees host, Jeff Nelson, former Yankee great, had an interesting point, though, that I didn't even think about, is that in the playoffs, they're going to be playing these games in L.A. where the ball does not carry as much. He's pitched there. He knows, he hasn't given up many home runs there, I guess, because the ball doesn't carry, and he's right. And the Yankees are built such on home runs. I mean, they are just pure power. They don't move guys over, and that's just the name of baseball these days is power. But the Yankees specifically, you're seeing every night. I mean, their backup catcher hit 3 homers the other night, Kyle Higashioka. So a team built on power worries me in October, again, with the air not carrying and no Yankee fans there. It's going to be interesting. So I think they make it. I think they win 1 or 2 rounds, and I think they might get to the World Series. But I don't know. The Dodgers look like just such a scary team that I think I have to take the Dodgers, especially playing in their home stadium, essentially. I mean, they're playing in L.A., they're playing in their home state in California. So I think the Dodgers will end up beating the Yankees in the World Series.
Another question, Jake. What do you think about the Mets? Do you think the Mets can possibly have a miracle and make it?
Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, you've either muted me or blocked me from all my Mets tweets.
I'm about to follow you right now.
Yeah. If you did, I understand. I know many people, I'm surely have muted me, which is perfectly fine because I do tweet and rant about the Mets, and I do a Mets podcast with Nelson Figueroa, and I do a lot of yelling. I do a lot of ranting and raving. Usually every show. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I said the Mets should trade Edwin Diaz for Dunkaroos, and after that, he ends up being great. So I look like an idiot for that. Dunkaroos are rare to find these days, especially here in New York. I don't know about in Chicago, but they brought them back, and they're scooped off the shelves pretty quickly. I don't know if you guys remember Dunkaroos. They were they were my lunchtime snack. They made me a chubby teenager in the 2000s. So I think they're not going to get in, but I am dreaming they get in. They're a game and a half out.
Yeah.
They need to beat great teams like the Braves and Rays coming up, and then they got to win 3 out of 4 against the Nationals. So they have to go 8-2. Do I think they're going to do that? No. Do I hope they're going to do it? Yes. So I think next week will matter for them, but I just think it's going to end up being too little, too late. And I also think they're having injuries at the worst time. Their ace Jacob deGrom is dealing with a hamstring injury, and while he may pitch, it's hard to pitch with that injury this late in the season. And you're a powered pitcher that throws 99 on every fastball, and you're coming down to that hammy every time. that kind of scares me. So because of everything surrounding them, I don't think they'll make it, but let us pray.
I love it, Jake. Love the passion.
Heading down the heading down the home stretch with Jake Brown of the New York Post right here on Second City Sports Zoom style. Jake, let's go to basketball real quick. What is your thoughts about the Brooklyn Nets hiring uh, Steve Nash as their new head coach with no coaching experience? Now he has Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving coming back for 2021.
Yeah, I think like all of us, we were like, huh? We were just like, what just happened? I think it was very surprising. I didn't see it coming. But listen, I think especially with the Nets, the players run the team. I think Kevin Durant and Kyrie said to Sean Marks, "Hey, we like Steve Nash. He practiced with us. I think there was like a picture with them practicing with him a year or two ago. And he's Steve Nash. I mean, he was a legendary basketball player, and we're seeing a lot of first-time coaches. It's not like insane. It did surprise everyone, but it's not like the craziest thing in the world. And it's also 2020. I mean, nothing surprised me anymore with everything going on this year. So I think it'll be interesting. I hope he's good because this team is built to be a championship contender next season. It's unfortunate with everything that's happened, how they're getting KD next year and what's going to end up being probably shortened season. We'll see about when fans are there and everything that happens. And who knows? But definitely surprising. But I can't judge. I can't be like, oh, I'm not going to say, oh, this is crazy. The Nets are going to be terrible because they have a good team and maybe he works out well. I do think having Jacques Vaughn and a strong assistant coaches is going to be the key. Having those, just like Joe Judge, having Jason Garrett as the head coach, like 1A being there. I think Jacques Vaughn earned the position to be at least his lead assistant. Yeah. And he's worked with these guys, especially in the bubble here.
Yeah.
Should be fun. Should be a lot of fun watching that team next year. What about the Knicks, real quick?
Oh, what about the Knicks? I mean, it is just it is a bleak future for this franchise. I know the rumors are Chris Paul. Listen, I love Tom Thibodeau. I think that's an awesome hire. You finally get an established coach. I wish someone like the Mets, if we talk baseball, went out and got an established manager like Joe Girardi. They did not. The Nets didn't go out and get an established coach. The Knicks did that. So at least they have a hard-nosed coach, a coach that's been there. You guys know him well in Chicago. I know the knock on him is he wore guys down, play him in a lot of minutes. But in some ways, I'd rather see guys play a lot of minutes than guys get babied and coddled like they have been, getting 30 minutes. I think 42 is kind of aggressive, but I think guys should be playing 38, especially young guys like R.J. Barrett and guys who are 21, 22 years old. So I'd love to see him develop some players, but I'm worried that they're talking about Chris Paul and I really like Chris Paul, but this is a rebuilding team and you're going to trade kind of assets for a guy on the back end of his career kind of scares me. And, of course, in typical Knicks fashion, they fall to get the 8th pick. And I'm sure they'll find a way to screw that up like they did with Frank Ntilikina, trading away Porzingis. I mean, the return for Porzingis looks even worse now with how bad Dennis Smith Jr. has been. So I think the Nets' future is a lot brighter than the Knicks. Knicks have a lot of work to do. I don't expect them to be a contender next season.
All right, that was Jake Brown, the executive producer for sports content for the New York Post. You can follow Jake Brown on Twitter at Jake Brown Radio. Once again, at Jake Brown Radio on Twitter. Jake, thank you so much for joining us here today. Enjoy the game on Sunday, and we'll definitely have you back on this program again in the future with more fun conversation.
All right, guys, thanks for having me, and enjoy Giants Bears.
You too.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right, guys, take care.
All right. All right, and that was Jake Brown once again of the New York Post. He's the executive producer for sports content over there at the New York Post. Guys, before you pick our games for week 2, just give your observations or what do you expect to see from Bears Giants this Sunday. Lamont, I'll start with you. What do you expect from the Bears in order to pull out this victory?
I have to disagree with Mr. Brown. I think the Bears will pull that game out maybe like a 17-10 or something.
Don't give out your predictions yet.
Yes.
Okay.
The
My
tease.
bad.
Yes. The
My
tease.
bad. He just said that New York was gonna win, and I don't think they will.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be like this high-scoring affair. Like I think, like you guys are. This might be one of those like field goals, like 9-6 or something like that, or 12-10 or something. I just don't see a lot of points being scored in this game.
I actually do see some points scored in this game for some weird reason. I think it's probably going to be in the mid-20s, kind of like what Jake said. I think it's going to be a close game. I have no idea what to make of the Bears. I have no idea what to make of the Giants right now. But I think it'll be close, and we'll get into those predictions in a few minutes here.
Yes.
I do think, however, I think Saquon will have a bounce back game in some way. I mean, I think he's too good to just to not produce in the run game, even though their offensive line is bad.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the Bears' run defense hopefully improving because the last two matchups against the New York Football Giants, if you the Bears, last year Saquon Barkley only had 59 yards for the Bears won. Remember 2 years ago in New Jersey, Saquon had his career best at the time as a rookie with 125 yards rushing in that upset win over the Bears. So I'm looking for their run defense to improve. Yes, Eddie Goldman will not be in uniform this year because of COVID, but I want to see how they neutralize Saquon Barkley. And number two, Mitch Trubisky, we saw how he torched that Lions secondary in the fourth quarter with Lions head coach Magic Patricia decided to go away from zone and play man. Let's see if the Giants defense, if they make the same mistake like the Lions did in week one, Trubisky should have a great day.
I think they owe the Giants too, Sid. They owe the Giants. The Giants have tapped us the last couple of times. We need to beat the Giants. I mean, we really do.
All right, and with that,
yeah, let's see. Lakina McGee has the schedule in front of her, and does she have our records from last week?
yeah, I do. You and Lamont are tied at the top, but we're not that. But Jason and I are not that far behind, though. We're only a game
I'm at the
behind.
top. Oh.
Yeah, I'll say it's not that far behind, so we'll figure out like prizes and whatnot. But it's still early, so let's.
I won't be that long.
Yeah, so very.
Yeah,
funny.
what's the record? Yeah, what's the records?
I think Lamont won 9, you won 8, and I think I think it's like a tie for like a game apart. So, and like I said, so far, everybody is still bunched up. It's still early, and there was some upsets. So,
yeah, we trust you to keep those records, Lakina. Do not miscalculate.
I'm not gonna miscalculate, guys. Don't worry. I got
okay.
you.
We're just making sure. We trust you.
Come on, come on, guys. Y'all know me better than that. All right. So the first game up in the noon slate, you've got an AFC South matchup. Both teams are 1-0. Jags and Titans.
I will start. I'm going with Tennessee because that was a tough loss for Tennessee. So I think Tennessee will beat up on Jacksonville. I think they will run over Jacksonville. I don't think the Jacksonville Magic will last 2 weeks in a row. I don't see it happening.
I have got the opposite pick. I'm going with the Jaguars. I think the AFC South is going to be a bit of a turntable type of division. I think 9 and 7 just might win it out. And I think it's going to be some combination of the Indianapolis Colts, Tennessee Titans, and the Jacksonville Jaguars somewhere in there. Even though, management for Jacksonville has done everything they could to throw it in the tank. I still think somehow, some way Jacksonville is going to be competitive. I like them. Where is this game? Do you know, Lakina?
It's in Tennessee.
It's in Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Jacksonville still on the road. What an upset.
So I'm talking about that.
I'm going with the Titans, even though their kicker, Steven Skowski, former New England Patriots, missed 4 out of 5 kicks. He kicked the game winner in Denver. Thank you to that dumbass penalty by Jackson from Denver. I could have had another upset, but that's a whole other issue. But with that being said,
I had that same issue. See?
With that being said, Jacksonville got lucky last week thanks to Phillip Rivers from the Colts throwing a gift interception there in the fourth quarter. The Titans, they started to get their running game going. toward the end of that game against Denver on Monday night. With that being said, this is the Titans' home opener. I'm going with the Titans.
Feed Derrick Henry. That was the problem that they had against Denver. If it wasn't for Vic Fangio's poor clock management, I think they could have lost that game. So I'm gonna pick the Titans, and no Minshew mania. Sorry, not this week anyway. We go to the NFC South this time. We got both teams are 0-1, hoping to bounce back. Panthers and Bucks.
I'll start if you want me to.
Go ahead,
Tampa Bay has to win. Because if they don't, everyone's going to go crazy. Everyone's going to say Brady's done. They're going to say Mike Evans ain't got it. Is he still on your team, Jason? What's going to happen if Tampa Bay loses that game? It's going to be all heck in Tampa Bay. So I'm going with Tampa Bay, but they can't lose that game.
So I do not have Mike Evans on my team this year. I had him on there last year. Tried to draft him this year, but I ended up getting Juju Smith. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, you should.
So, but listen, Tampa Bay's going to get it together. You guys may think I'm crazy about this, but I'm more concerned with New Orleans offense than I am with Tampa Bay's offense. I really am. Outside of Alvin Kamara, I mean, Drew Brees also did not look that good on Sunday. I don't know if you noticed that, guys.
But I think Emmanuel Sanders is the answer if they can keep Michael Thomas healthy. Emmanuel Sanders is the answer on that other side. We don't have a tight end, though. They don't have a tight end. He old. He's there, but yeah, you might have a point, man.
I'm picking Tampa Bay to get it together. Again, I really don't. I didn't pick Tampa Bay to win the game last week anyway. Tom Brady threw a couple of picks, but I'm picking Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm picking Tampa as well. I mean, look, I think people are freaking out over nothing. They'll get it together eventually. I think it's all this sort of maneuvering here, anarchy. Look, no, they'll be fine. Panthers are sort of like going through kind of a rebuild mode, so you'll get it right, Tampa fans. Don't freak out.
Yeah, I'm going with the Buccaneers as well. As you mentioned, the Panthers defense looked like garbage last Sunday. The Oakland Raiders showed you that. Christian McCaffrey is all you have for the Panthers offense. Teddy Bridgewater, he's not a bad quarterback, but he's going to take his hard falls again against that Tampa Bay defense. That defense for the Buccaneers is looking to feast on him. I expect that type of performance on Sunday, so I'm going with the Buccaneers in their home opener.
All right, so intra-divisional matchup here. You got Broncos and Steelers. Who else wants to start this time besides Lamont? Okay, Lamont, get started.
I'll start this off. I'm going with the Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'll start it off. I'll go with the Pittsburgh Steelers because Blake Snell, who has heard of him before Monday night? Not too many people. He had over 113 yards rushing against that bad Giants defense. As you mentioned, Lakina, earlier, Denver Broncos, their defense went to bed in the fourth quarter with that dumb penalty by Jackson and poor clock management. With that being said, the injuries are starting to mount on them now. I don't like their offense. They're going on the road to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh looks like they're starting to turn around a little bit. And this is Pittsburgh's home opener. So with that being said, I'm going with the Steelers.
I'm going with the Steelers also, Sid.
I got the Steelers too.
Yeah, I'm going with the Steelers. Big Ben's healthy. He's I like the emergence of Deontay Johnson opposite Juju. And yeah, again, I think it's Benny Snell. Actually,
yeah, Benny Snell. Kentucky guy.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh seems to just find running backs and make the best out of them. So I'm going with Pittsburgh.
All right, first sweep of the day. I love it. Rams and Eagles, another inter-divisional matchup.
I will start this one. I think the Eagles are getting off to a 0-2 start. Although I think the Rams were lucky for pulling out that game last week. I think the Eagles have major problems, and it starts on their offensive line. So I mean, I like their run defense. I like the Eagles defense overall. But if Carson Wentz has got to stop trying to throw the deep ball like 10, 15 times a game. I know that was an exaggeration, but there was an inordinate number of deep balls thrown, in my opinion, in that game. I thought they should have, taken advantage of some more intermediate and short routes. But anyway, I think the Eagles go 0-2. I like the Rams.
And I got to agree with you, Jason. I think the Rams going to eat up that offensive line. Go on with the Rams.
Same thing, Rams. I just, like you said, Jason, I don't trust the O-line for the Eagles. I just don't. And Wentz is starting to kind of like going to be all discombobulated. So I know this is sort of like, Rams going cross country. I think they're going to stay over there because I think they got another game next week. So I'm going to pick the Rams.
I guess I'll go under with the peer pressure too. I'm going with the Rams.
Peer pressure, something else, Sid.
It is terrible no matter what age. So next up we got 49ers and the Jets. Jets gonna be out Jay Crowder. That's gonna be a big thing here.
I'm going with San Francisco.
San Francisco's gonna be very.
I don't think the Jets will win more than 3 games this year.
Aha.
So let's be honest.
You pushing it, Jason. You pushing it. I said 2.
Well, I mean, okay.
He said 2.
They're probably the worst team in football right now.
Yeah, the Niners not gonna be very happy about what happened with the Cardinals game last season. They probably felt they should have won that game, so they'll take it out on the Jets. I'm picking the 49ers.
I'm going with the 49ers as well. That they're pissed off about what happened in a home opener against Arizona, which I picked correctly, by the way, along with Lakina. Also, too, George Kittle, their tight end, got injured. He's a game-time decision. So whether he plays or not, Le'Veon Bell on the other side is injured for the New York Jets. The offensive line is bad. Their defense is not as good. So I'm going with the 49ers on the road, even though they're traveling to the East Coast for a noon start.
All right, AFC East is up next. You got the Bills and Dolphins. Remember, the Bills might be without a couple of their secondary guys.
I'll start. I'm still going with Buffalo, even without the secondary guys. I don't believe in Miami yet, so I'm going Buffalo.
Bills.
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Okay, a sweep. Another sweep. Okay, battle of 0-1s. You got the Vikings and the Colts.
I'll start this one off. Give me the Indianapolis Colts. I know what you're saying. Phillip Rivers read the bed in the fourth quarter last week. Marlon Mack, their starting running back, is injured for the year with a torn Achilles. I get all that, but I'm still a big believer in this Indianapolis defense. On the other side for Minnesota, their defense got torched last week by Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Now they have to go on the road to face that team. I know Kirk Cousins is good, but Kirk Cousins is going to face a real defense in the Colts for their home opener. With that being said, I'm going with the Colts.
I'm gonna take Minnesota for the exact opposite reason. Because they got torched by Aaron Rodgers, they're gonna beat up on Phillip Rivers and pick him off twice.
Yeah, you know what? I think I like Indianapolis in this game by a field goal. It's probably an even game other than that. But listen, Phillip Rivers, if people expect Phillip Rivers to not throw at least 1 interception a game, they're kidding themselves. I mean, this is just the nature of who he is. And you just hope it's not a soul-crushing, back-breaking, game-ending interception. But I like Indianapolis in the close.
Ooh.
See, I'm like the opposite. I'm picking Minnesota for the reasons Lamont said. They're not going to be very happy that they felt that they should have won that game against the Packers. I really think this is going to be like coming out to a field goal, but I think it's going to be the Vikings that ends up winning it. So this is going to be a very close game. It'll be very entertaining. All right, going to say the NFC North, you got Lions and Packers.
I hate to say I'll start just because I hate to say it, but Green Bay gonna win.
I mean, look, it looks like maybe we might have underestimated Aaron Rodgers, and that secondary for the Lions is still not very good. He's probably going to throw
playing for his job.
Yeah. So he's probably going to throw like 5 or 6 touchdowns.
5 more touchdowns.
Yeah. So I think the Packers win. I think the Packers win handily.
Yeah. Green Bay's going to win this game. Listen, Detroit is Detroit.
Even though Detroit got screwed up there on Monday Night Football last year at Lambeau Field on that horrible call for Trey Flowers, they're going to need a little bit of that and more this year. I expect the Packers to roll. Matt Patricia, as we say, Lamont, he should be expecting his link card and his pink slip.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming. It's a matter of when.
It's coming. All right, the battle of 0-1s here in Dallas. You got Falcons and Cowboys.
I'll start it right quick. I'm in love with the Dallas pass rush from that side. What's Alden Smith is his name, and I think Atlanta will not pass for 500 yards, even though they have wonderful and Matt Ryan had a wonderful week last week. But I think Alden Smith gonna slap him around a little bit, so I'm going with Dallas.
Yeah, this is a tough game. Where is this game at, Lakina? Is it in Atlanta?
Dallas. No, it's in Dallas.
It's in Dallas?
Yes.
I think they're supposed to have fans on Sunday. I think.
Yeah, I think like 20%. 20%. Yep. You're right, Lamont.
I mean that makes no difference. Dallas isn't a home field for them. Like they've historically not even played well in their own home stadium. Man,
for the week.
I like Dallas. I think it's a close one as well, but I'll take Dallas.
I know Dallas has a bunch of injuries on their defensive units, especially Van Der Esch. I think he's supposed to be out 6 to 8 weeks with that broken collarbone. But with that being said, I like what their game plan is on offense. They just need to score a little bit more points. I need to see a little bit more in that Atlanta defense. They got torched last week in their home opener against Seattle. With that being said, I'm going with Dallas.
Yeah, I think Dallas too. They're not going to be in a very good mood because they feel like let that game against the Rams slip away from them. I know Van Der Bosch is going to be out for a while, but I think Dak will do just enough. Feed the Zeke, as his tattoo says on his tummy. His tattoo says.
Yeah.
So Dallas. All right, Battle of 1-0 is the first of our 3 o'clock slate. You got Washington and Arizona.
I'll start.
I like Arizona.
Yeah.
I think their defense is, especially the pass rush, is going to cause some problems for Arizona. But I still like Arizona. I think they're a rising team.
I'm riding with Arizona until they lose.
When it comes to Arizona. Go ahead, Lamont. I'm sorry.
I'm going with Arizona as well as Washington. Even though I did predict them to win last week, they do have the defense, but I don't know if they'll have enough on offense. I think Kyler Murray is going to do enough to win. DeAndre Hopkins is showing you why he's one of the best top 10 wide receivers in the game. And the Cardinals actually have a defense, and they actually have a running back, a couple of running backs as well, in Chase Edmonds and Kenyon Drake. And for you guys on the panel, and for those of you watching and listening at home, guess who's doing the game on Sunday for Fox?
Who?
Dick Stockton.
Oh, boy.
FYI.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Lord.
Who's going to be him?
Murray. Get ready for Kyler Murray, I guess. What do you say, Lamont?
Who gonna be doing the game with Jonathan Vilma?
No, Vilma's doing. No, Brandon Gaudin's doing the game with Vilma.
Oh, okay. So who gonna carry Stockton?
I think it's Chris Philman. Go check, but I think it's Chris Philman.
I'm going with Arizona though.
Yeah, I got Arizona too. I'm a big believer. Like I've been saying, like I'm pushing this for months now. You guys have been listening and watching this. I'm a big believer in that team. I think Arizona pulls away late.
I'm gonna be with you probably all year with that, Lakina.
Come to the good side there, Mr. Scott. Okay, about here in the AFC West, you got KC and the Chargers. But remember that Maurice Ponce, I should say, is out for the year. So, snake bitten for the Chargers.
I'll start this one off. I'm going with Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Yeah, KC.
All right, well, that was quick. All right, that was quick. One of the games of the week, they'll be on CBS. You got the Ravens and the Texans.
I'll start this one off. This will be one of my 2 upset specials for the week. I am going with the Houston Texans. That is right. And I'll be watching this game in its entirety via my computer. And let me tell you why Houston's going to pull out the upset. Their defense is finally healthy. I know they looked shoddy a week and a half ago against Kansas City, but you play in Baltimore. Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, he cannot throw downfield consistently. J.J. Watt is healthy. If Houston can get consistent pressure on Lamar Jackson and limit his running lanes for him running out of the pocket, they have a very good chance in this ballgame. On the flip side, for the Texans offense, David Johnson did not look that bad in the first half against Kansas City running the ball. If they can feed him the rock and let Deshaun Watson do his thing, they're at home. I think they have a better chance to pull off the upset. I'm going with Houston. And the
I
Bell
can't
were
agree.
quarterbacks.
I can't agree with you on that, Sid. Baltimore gonna win that game simply because David Johnson did look good. Got to give you that, but it's a lot of we need. I don't think they can stop Lamar Jackson, not yet.
I'm going with Houston in an upset as well. I like them. I think they're a really, really good team. And I think, last week or opening night, I should say, didn't really show how good they are. But I still like Deshaun Watson as a quarterback, even though he doesn't have Hopkins. I'm taking Houston upset as well.
That's why I'm not. That's why I'm picking Baltimore, because I don't look. I like David Johnson, but that pass rush for Baltimore is actually pretty good. I know
And who he gonna throw the ball to?
exactly. So he doesn't know where to throw the ball to either. He got a lot of people to throw the ball to. So I think Baltimore wins, and there's not gonna be any. I don't know what's the fan situation there in Houston. I think it's gonna be sort of the same thing as Dallas, but
About 15.
about 15,000. Okay,
Yeah.
so I will. I'll still pick Baltimore. I just don't see
Me.
Houston pulling off the upset. I just don't. We're split. Gotta love it. Sunday night, you got New England and Seattle.
That should be a good one.
I don't think New England gonna be able to beat Seattle. I think Russell Wilson get to show off on prime time. He get to show off a little bit. I think Seattle gonna hand it to New England, but I do think Cam gonna have a halfway decent game again.
So I'm gonna do the overreaction deal that I know that we most of us hate. But my overreaction from last week is that Russell Wilson is probably gonna be the MVP of the league. But of course, I know there was a lot of season to be played. But man, did he
But
look
he gonna
good?
get a vote. At least he'll get a vote. Maybe he'll get one vote for the first time.
Listen, I think if he stays healthy, I think it may be his award to lose. Again, I know it's just one game, but I'm doing a little overreacting, but that's okay. He looked really, really good, and he's got targets. And oh, by the way, Chris Carson is healthy, and he is running the ball with authority, and that is going to help them a whole hell of a lot. So I like Seattle in this game.
Did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know that fans won't be affected for this game because we all know that the Seattle Seahawks have the best home field advantage in the league. Of course, they won't be affected this go around. I think Cam Newton in New England will play a little bit better because of that, but I think Seattle will make enough plays down the stretch. As you mentioned, Jason, they ran the ball down Atlanta's throat last week. I think they could do it again to New England. With that being said, I think it's going to be a close game. Seattle pulls it out at the end.
Same thing. I think Seattle does pull it out, but I think New England keeps it close. Like you guys said, there's not going to be any fans there, so that should be a good one there too, nonetheless. Another one that should be a good one. You got New Orleans and the Oakland Raiders. I mean, the Las Vegas Raiders. See, I did it again. God darn it.
They still Oakland.
It took me a minute
Oakland in my heart too.
to get used to that.
They're gonna lose though. I'll start. The Saints will beat the Raiders, and simply because the Saints supposed to beat the Raiders.
Upset time. I like the Raiders. I like the Raiders in this game. Listen, Derek Carr looked well last week. I know, he's got his detractors, and he's a polarizing guy. But I like Derek Carr, and I think Josh Jacobs is going to continue to run the ball well. I like the Raiders in an upset.
Okay.
You stole my pick, Jason, but I will join you. This is my second upset pick of the week. Here's why. 4 words.
Yes,
For
sir.
New Orleans, no. For New Orleans, no Michael Thomas. And for Oakland, Josh Jacobs. You run the ball, as John Gruden would say, pound the rock. Pound the rock. They did that last week at Carolina. They'll do it again this week in their home opener against the Saints. With that being said, this game is also on ABC, so Las Vegas is they're going to show the world what kind of team they're supposed to be. And New Orleans injuries are starting to mount up. With that being said, I'm going with Las Vegas in an upset in their home opener in their new digs.
And then it looks beautiful. That's New Stadium looks gorgeous though out there.
Yes, it does.
It looks beautiful. Also the Rams and Chargers field too. That looks just
Don't it? Yes.
particularly beautiful as well. For the reasons like you guys, like you, Jason, you and Sid said, I am picking the Raiders too in an upset.
Okay.
Mike Thomas could say all he wants that he thinks that I could play, but no, high ankle sprains are very, very tough to diagnose. They're very tough to get over, and also they got other injuries too, other issues. I think the Buccaneers sort of exploited that. So I'm gonna pick the Raiders, and the Raiders gonna start 2-0.
It's okay to be alone out there with New Orleans. I'm okay with that. Leave me out there by myself. It's okay.
All right. With that said, though, last but not least, Giants and the Bears.
The Bears.
Well, listen, I think the odds are in the Bears' favor. The last 2 times they played the Giants, they've wet the bed, for lack of a better phrase. But I am concerned about, once again, Saquon Barkley getting right against the Bears. I think their run defense is going to be better. I think their defense overall is going to be a bit better. I don't say this with a whole lot of confidence. I really don't, because I could see the Bears losing this game. But I'm going to go Bears 21, Giants 18.
That's
I'm going
17-10, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bears as well. For the Bears, you have to continue to run the ball with consistency. The offensive line for the Bears were stellar last week. Number 2, Mr. Trubisky must take advantage of this bad, and not do me bad and stink bad Giants secondary. If he can do that, I think the Bears will win, and I expect Jimmy Graham to have another big game. So, with that being said, as I always say, I'm expecting the Bears to win.
And another thing, Sid, I think the defense felt like they got embarrassed a little bit last week. I think their feelings was hurt last week. So I think they're going to have a bounce-back game also.
They need to, especially Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Did you hear that Sunday? I didn't.
Oh, well, listen, I'm going to jump in here. I would take the Bears. The Bears will win. It'll be a close one, though. I think 13-10. I think Saquon will do just that to keep them close. But I think the Bears had the better team overall, so I think they win it in a close one. But then again, watch Daniel Jones has his best game of his career so far. Just because it almost happened.
I'll say that.
I'm just saying.
Not going to happen.
Look, Saquon might be feeling a little bit slighted, so he can be all the class response he wants, but he'll probably going to feel slighted, so he might want like 150 yards and for 2 touchdowns. So we'll see.
He can let them go off, and long as they lose, I'm okay with him going off as long as they lose.
All right, so those are our picks for week 2. So we got a few more minutes left. Let's do a rapid fire of some of the other games, other stuff's going on.
Wait, look at last night game.
Yeah.
What you think about Joe Burrow?
Get him an O-line. Get him in an O-line, and he'll be fine.
Because right now they don't have no talent over there, but I think give him 2 years or so, and he might can be somebody. You know, he threw the ball 60 times.
Yeah, and I was just gonna. You took that right out of my mouth, Lamont. They can't do that. They just can't do that.
They can't do that.
But I will say this: I will even with a horrible offensive line, Joe Burrow looks like the real deal, guys and gal. I mean, he looks like the real deal. I mean, I know it's just 2 games, and I was overreacting on one game a few minutes ago, but Joe Burrow looks like the real deal, folks. I would probably assume AJ Green is gone after this year, but if they could somehow keep him and Tyler Boyd or somehow find another wide receiver there in Cincinnati, they've got some pieces. They have got to protect him.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Jason. We all know that what the New York Jets are going through right now with Sam Darnold, it's going to take at least 2 to 3, maybe even 4 drafts to establish a good offensive line. With that being said, Joe Burrow's future is bright if Cincinnati can get it right. But we all know in football, in order to win championships, it starts with your offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah, like I said, give an O-line, he'll be okay, I think. But he's shown that he might have a future here. So maybe we're on to something there with Mr. Burrow. All right, game 2 last night in Eastern Conference Finals. There's some stuff that went on after the game, some throwing games, some swear words. I'll let you guys have the floor. What do you guys think?
I know they better win game 3.
You think?
So,
They better win game 3 or somebody getting beat up and they're going home.
So we talked about this right before we came back on air. But I am just so disappointed in Boston. And Brad Stevens, that on-court interview in the fourth quarter, to begin that fourth quarter, boy, you can just tell he was hot. He wanted no parts of that interview on court whatsoever, and I don't blame him because Boston literally forgot how to play pick and roll defense. I've never I have never seen pick and roll defense be that bad in my life. And again, we talked about it before we came back live, but Bam Adebayo, he's a nice player, and I give him all the credit in the world for that block in game one. But there's no way he's supposed to drop 15 points in the third quarter. No way whatsoever. No way.
The whole game is if you playing him 15 for a game is a stretch. He's a great defensive guy, but man, them letting him go off the way they have let him go off is ridiculous.
Yeah, and you said it, Lamont, and I don't want to take your point, but he was walking to the bucket. Like there were wide open lanes just laying up for him in the bucket. And Boston has got to do something about that. They are the number one defensive efficiency team in the league. They have to play better on that end of the floor.
I'm dating myself. Know what it remind me of? When I was at Curie, we played against Marcus Liberty. And the way he played and the way he did us is the way it looked like a high school game, the way he was coming off the backside like that. It was like he was the biggest player on the court and y'all was just too little to play with him. And that was pretty bad.
I hope they can get together though, because that Boston team is way too good. They were able to pull off the upsets, I guess, against Toronto. So I hope they can get together, but if not, heads are going to be rolling in Boston. Daniel Ainge's head's probably going to start spinning like The Exorcist, I swear.
I'm with Lamont on this one. The Celtics better win game 3 or else this series is over in a hurry. My question is for Boston, who's going to be their third scorer? You have Jason Tatum, who had a nice game in game 2. You had Kemba Walker, who had, I believe, 23 points also in game 2. Who's going to be that third scorer for Boston? And like you guys said, can they step it up defensively, especially in the pick and roll? Because that's been their Achilles heel so far in this series.
You know what? If that was a real big argument with Mr. Smart, I mean, and Hayward's ready to go, you might have to insert Kemba back at point guard, man, and sit Smart down a little bit more and let Gordon Hayward come back in and score you some points because you're going to need some points, and Marcus Smart ain't scoring. And if he's a problem, man, bring him in.
Well, okay. So the sort of after the game altercation, this is the first I'm hearing about it. So what details can you tell me? Like what supposedly reportedly happened?
Supposedly Smart was throwing things. Well, no, he was actually saying a lot of curse words, and I guess someone else was throwing things, and there was some arguing between them. And I guess Brad Stevens had a talk with him and Kemba Walker. I think Tatum and Cantor and the others were there. A couple other guys were there as well.
Okay. So Smart was sort of the culprit in all of this then?
That's the rumor. Now, there might have been a couple other guys that might have been the culprits, but I don't know. But
we all family, so he probably was with that comment.
Well, and again, I said before we came back on the air, like if Marcus Smart wants to be mad at somebody, be mad at yourself. Look in the mirror. Like again, way too many times that weak side pick and roll, that's his assignment. It's either his assignment or Jaylen Brown's assignment, depending on how they've got it set up. So if he wants to be mad at somebody, be mad at yourself. Because for God's sakes, guard the paint. Guard the paint. Do your job.
Jaylen Brown was glued to Duncan Robinson. So Jaylen Brown wouldn't leave Duncan Robinson that whole fourth quarter. He was stuck on Duncan Robinson. So it probably falls on Marcus Smart.
There you go. Again, that was my point. I'm pretty sure Jaylen Brown was probably stuck on either Hero or Duncan Robinson. And again, you have got to come back on the weak side. I saw that Marcus Smart being blown by way too many times on that play. So if you want to be mad at somebody, look in the doggone mirror.
Yeah.
That might have been what it was.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Let's go to the college football gridiron real quick here. We got a few more minutes here. Apparently the Baylor-Houston game has been postponed because I guess there was a positive COVID test. So, and also now the Big Ten, they're slated to come back in October, and now the Pac-12 wants to get back in it. Now the Mountain West does too, but then you get all this other stuff going on.
Yeah.
So what are you guys thinking? What's your thinking here, guys?
Well, I kind of knew I always felt like once they saw some school play and then two schools play, and then once Notre Dame played, I felt like all the rest of them would jump back in anyway. Simply out of they not gonna let them do something they not gonna do, and then they was gonna get heat from the players and the players' parents and all of those people that have supported those players to try to get them to the NFL, into saying, man, you gotta let them play once they saw other people play.
As we
Go ahead, Sid. Go ahead.
Okay, as we said before on the show, the dominoes will fall as far as when we saw that these Power Five conferences were postponing their seasons, or at least rumored to be moved to the spring. Now, as Lamont said, as these big power conferences starting to come back, the Big Ten, no, we don't want to be left out. We're going to come on back. The Pac-12, we think about it, but eventually we're going to get back there. It all comes down to money, and they see that
Period.
big prize pot at the end of the rainbow, and they're going to try to rush there as fast as they can.
And you know what? In the piggyback that said, I stay at about having people in that stadium too. You see how they sneaking them 10,000 in, them 20,000 in. By the time
yeah.
it's over, they gonna have 50,000 in them stadiums, man. It's gonna be, especially in that SEC. And I'm mainly speaking about LSU. LSU gonna put some people. They hold 100. They gonna put 30, 40 in there before it's over.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I've my mind about this whole entire thing about how football is being handled in this pandemic, guys. I probably have the opposite view as you do. I am just kind of sickened to the fact that there is no central leadership in NCAA football, and these schools and these conferences have just been led to do whatever the hell they wanted to do, basically. I am always going to err on the side of caution when we're talking about a deadly virus. I think football should have been delayed, if not postponed, all outright. But I know there are a couple of factors going into this, and you guys have touched on them. Of course, most of all, being the money. I get it. This is $1 billion industry. They want their dough. So I understand that aspect of it. But and talking about LSU, you brought it up, Lamont. When you got Coach O talking about most of your team having contracted the virus already, and then you're gonna want to play other teams, you're putting kids' lives in danger. I don't care how you look at it. You are putting kids' lives in danger, whether minute or gigantic. This is a dangerous thing that people are dealing with, and it's not just the short-term effects; it's the long-term effects that this virus has on people. Having said that, more specifically to the Big Ten, of course, they succumb to the pressure of every other, other schools playing, other coaches putting the pressure on, wanting to play and things of that nature. Again, I get it. So in my conflicted heart, I am happy in some way that we're going to get some, form of a football season, not only in the pros, but in college. But again, this is a dangerous game of roulette that I think is being played here. And I just go back to the fact of there is a lack of leadership in NCAA football, and that's a travesty in my point.
So how do you think with them going back, the way they're going back, is going to affect the hardwood coming back? The college hardwood coming back.
Yeah, again, because there is no central leadership in NCAA, there's no way for me to predict what these conferences are going to do. Hopefully, they themselves can come to at least some sort of consensus. But I mean, you're even widening the pool even in a larger area when we're talking about college basketball, right? Because now you're talking about almost 350 schools, playing, some form of college basketball, and I think it's like 100 and some odd teams on the D1 level. So,
yeah. And they talking about a bubble with so many other top teams going for the championship.
Can't do it.
Well, they've
Can't
already
do it. Not in college.
Well, they've already voted. I think like the 25th. I think they've already voted that's when the season's going to start. All those tournaments that usually the Bahamas and Hawaii. That's actually now those going to be inland now. I think both of them are going to. I think most are going to be like in North Carolina and places like that. So I think the hoops. I think the college hoops is you're not dealing with a lot of players and personnel. I think that they can handle it a little bit better. But going back to the football aspect of it, I hope no one dies,
That's
because
what you got to pray for right there.
what if someone dies, or whether it's a player or a coach or a personnel person, or someone gets it from somebody else? That's going to be the thing. And unfortunately, Jermaine Stevens, the young man from Cal, Pennsylvania, that's a D3 school. The rumors are that he passed away, and the rumors are that he died from COVID, from a blood clot in his heart. That's not
And
getting a lot of attention, unfortunately.
that's the thing. Look,
That's
some
what
of these
hoping to get that situation. Go ahead, Lamont.
they might not even report it. Some of these bigger schools, they may not report a death. And that's the scary part of it. Like, I got to agree with Jay. That's the scary part of it right there. If it happens to one of those big schools, Ohio State, if they come back and one of their players happen to die, or coach's daughter or something happen to die, they may not even report that, man. We'll have to dig to find that out. But, we just pray for the best in that.
Yeah, here's another thing I'll leave you guys with before we move on to the next subject to close out the show. We had Shannon Ryan, college hoops and college football reporter from the Chicago Tribune, on about a month ago. If you missed the interview, please check it out on WARR on Anchor, especially on iHeartRadio. Download that app and search for WARR on Anchor. We had her on, Lakina, and we were talking about testing because, let's be honest here, your smaller schools, they do not have enough money for testing. In these big-time schools, they have the money for testing, but the question is, how many times are you going to test? Are you going to test every other day? Or are you going to test the day before the game, the day after the game? And listening to Chicago Bears coverage, just transitioning over to the NFL real quick, from what I've heard, they tested the players the night before the game, which was last Saturday, and they tested them when they got back the day after, which was Monday. So are you going to follow the same formula as the NFL, or will it be different? Will all the teams follow the same formula, or will each team be tested differently? Because if each team, now going back to college, if they're going to be tested differently, there could be a potential problems there.
Yeah. Agree. And also, too, Charlotte, they had to cancel their game against North Carolina, which was a bummer because I was actually looking forward to that game because of contact tracing. So, yeah. So.
And then false positives, that's going to come back to play soon, especially with these big schools coming back in. The whole false positive question going to come back up, too.
Probably, okay, Miami, Louisville, that should be a good one there. So hopefully that'll go off without a hitch. So, but that should be a good one there. Down in Louisville. So that's a Saturday night or tomorrow night. So that should be fun. U.S. Open real quick over in Winged Foot. It actually is now playing like a U.S. Open course. Who's your pick?
Well, my pick before the tournament started would have been Tony Finau. I didn't actually check the first round score, so I don't know where he's at or where he's at today, Lakina. I don't know if you have the scores in front of you. I don't. But that's okay. Like I said, my pick before would have been Tony Finau.
He's tied for 21st at +2.
Okay, yeah.
But go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say, Justin Thomas. I think is Justin Thomas or Dustin Thomas was the leader. Justin, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know he listen, -5 on the first day. I mean, good Lord, you're talking about a great start there. So I don't know where he's at now. Again, I don't have the tracking with me. He probably hasn't even teed off yet. I don't think, maybe. But I mean, yeah, Justin Thomas. Let's see if he can, go wire to wire this weekend.
That's who I was gonna go. If I had to just pick someone, that's who I would pick.
What about you, Sid?
Where's Tiger?
I'm looking. I haven't found him yet. I'm still trying to find him.
That's not a good sign.
He might miss the cuts.
That is not a good sign. I know he was +3 at the end of yesterday, so.
I don't think he's teed off yet, but I'm looking. Oh, he's tied for 40 at that 4 over. But yeah, he's on the second round now. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I had Phil going in because of what happened a couple of times before. But I guess I'll go with Justin Thomas too. I think he looks good and he's won a major before. I think he's due for another one. That's my pick. All right. Anything else? Any other anything sports wise, or what are you guys looking forward to?
Oh yes, real quickly, Keena, I want to get your guys' opinion on now former 670 The Score host here in Chicago, Dan McNeil. Of course, for those of you that have been sleeping under a rock, during last Monday night football game, between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Football Giants. NFL, ESPN NFL reporter Maria Taylor, it was her first Monday Night Football game, and Dan McNeil tweeted out that she was dressing like she was at the AVN Awards. For those of you that don't know what AVN is, it's an award show for the adult video music, the adult movie industry, and he was fired over that tweet because of it. And I think our good friend Jonathan Hood, now with ESPN 1000 during the mornings with David Kaplan, 7 to 10 a.m. on ESPN 1000, he said this best. 20 years ago, no one would have said anything too much. Now that we are in a different climate and we're in a different society, whether we like it or not, when you're a public figure like that, you cannot tweet out stuff like that. To all of us, I think we know better. Yes, we all make mistakes, that's one thing, but to all of us sportscasters and media people in general, if when in doubt, don't tweet it out because stuff like this happens.
Yes, I agree with you 100% with that, Sid.
Yeah, and yeah, me too. And it's just a cautionary tale. I mean, we can use this as a public service announcement, for crying out loud. And we can say that slogan. When in doubt, do not tweet it out. Seriously, do not hit the send button.
Maybe that should be on the shirt for the show. Get that on the shirt.
Oh, that'd be cool.
No, that's a good idea.
That's
good
a good
idea.
one,
Lakina,
too.
get on it.
All right.
I know Kyle means he's listening. Get on it.
Yeah, I was like, get on that, Kyle. Yeah,
But
look, I mean, 20 years ago, this was part of his shtick, so I wasn't surprised. But nowadays, you can't do it. Don't say stuff like that. You don't want your mother or your sister or wife or what have you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if and the way he worked and the way he think and talk, sometimes you would think in his mind he might have thought he was giving a compliment. You never know. He could have just said nothing, and that's what the shirt should say. He should say nothing. Did y'all see the ABC News doing a special report tonight on the Lorenz Wright murder? You remember Lorenz Wright?
Oh, Lorenz Wright.
Oh, yeah, the former NBA player who got murdered a few years ago. Yeah, that was sad.
They're doing a special investigative thing on ABC tonight. Yeah, ABC tonight. I'm gonna try to make sure I catch that.
Yeah, I did not know that. Thanks for the heads up, Lamont. I might try to record that at least.
Yeah, they say they got some new information, so I'm gonna see, because that's been like a big mystery about 20 years now.
Yeah, I'm hoping that his mom and the rest of the family gets peace and because that's just sad all around. But let's end on a happy note, though. I'm looking forward to the U.S. Open. It's gonna be weird because this is actually the one time where you wish that it would be out in the West Coast because they can kind of get away with a little bit more and it before Sunday Night Football. But now it's gonna be right in the middle of it, so the afternoon game, so that's gonna be tough. But look, I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Also, baseball, 10 games left, guys, for a lot of these teams. So also the NFL. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, that, as always, I'm looking forward to my beloved WWE. I still love my WWE and my AEW this weekend, so I will be watching them intently. And they are running live wrestling shows in Chicago again. As of last month, they've been running them, so I've caught a couple. So they're back running live shows in Chicago, or not in the city limits, in the suburbs, like Chicago Heights area and Marriott Park.
Cool. And yeah, for me, I believe it's tonight, Game 1, Western Conference Finals, Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers. I mentioned this earlier on in the show. I like this as a long series, at least 6 games. I think if Denver is to win it, I think a big key for them to do it is to win Game 1. Although, what'd you say, Lamont?
Denver by 4 tonight. Upset. Jamal Murray gonna go for 40.
I like it. Listen, I like it. And
I'm serious. I'm not just throwing it out there.
Are you gonna put some money on it, Lamont?
Depends on how much you're talking, Sid.
Oh God. Oh goodness.
We do not condone gambling here on Second City Sports.
It's legal now.
Yeah, I'm saying it's legal now.
It's legal.
We're not in the studio anymore.
I know, but yeah, Game 1 tonight, and of course, more NFL action coming up this weekend. And shout out to Nick Chubb, by the way, for getting me almost 27 points in fantasy yesterday.
Man, Nick Chubb is a beast. He was at Georgia, and he's continuing to be.
Sid, you got anything closing?
As usual, I'm looking forward to week 2 of the NFL, watching the out of market games on my computer, and also looking forward to the beloved the Chicago Bears going to 2-0. They should be able to do that against a bad New York Giants football team. Baseball is coming down to the home stretch. We're going to have 2 teams from this city to represent in the playoffs, and the NBA Conference Finals in the playoffs should be fun. I think it will be fun. But like you said, Lamont, Boston better get it together, game 3, or else it'll be over in a hurry.
And also good luck to my Las Vegas Aces and my good friend Derek Hamby out there. They're going to do some damage in them WNBA playoffs. Chicago, unfortunately, did get knocked out, but so did LA, so I don't feel as bad. So shout out to Las Vegas, and hopefully they do something. And if y'all want to unwind from the sports thing, check out Lovecraft Country on HBO.
Man, okay. I gotta interrupt. I am a science fiction buff, Lamont. I guess we're gonna have to have a conversation on this in private. But I am so confused about what the hell that show's about.
Man, that show will take you everywhere and bring you back. And it got nothing but real meanings in it. And if you ever read a Lovecraft book, you're gonna fall right in line because it lines them up greatly. That's an amazing show, man.
I mean, I tried to get into it, and I'm a science fiction guy, but I don't know. I guess I'll have to give it another shot. I really want to, so we'll see.
If I had to pick between like watching that or Power on a Sunday, I would watch that over Power and my other favorite show, P-Valley. But we ain't gonna talk about P-Valley.
We will talk about that.
And on that note.
All right. All right. On that note, you follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter, at Keena_McGee on the Instagram.
You can follow me at Lamont Scott on Facebook, Lamont Scott 69 on Instagram, Lamont Scott 16 on Twitter.
And you can follow me at Truth and Reason _ on the Twitter. And once again, you can follow the show's Twitter handle at 2NDCSCHI.
You can follow yours truly on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. And you can follow this show, Second City Sports, on WARR on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple iTunes. We're everywhere. Wherever you can download your podcast, make sure you download Second City Sports, along with other programming from We Are Rico Radio, a.k.a. WARR Media. And also, don't forget to download the iHeartRadio app. And when you do that, please type in the search engine box, WARR on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. You can access this lovely podcast, including Second City Sports.
You can also follow us on YouTube as well. Where can you find us on YouTube, Sid?
WARR Media, that's WARR Media. Make sure you view the page, like the page, comment, share it, share it, and please get those likes up. Get them up, get them up, get them up.
All right, on that note, for the guys, I'm Lakeena. This is Second City Sports Zoom style, and we'll see you Monday.
Zoom style.
Oh.
See you next time. Holla.